Thank you.
Thank you.
Heather, last but certainly not least, over to you.
Good evening. I think I'm up to about 4 parent deaths and 1 child fatality since January, unfortunately, because we have a huge substance abuse crisis. But my name is Heather Croteau. I have been a social worker in the state of Rhode Island for the last 18 years, most recently the last 8 years for the state of Rhode Island, 6 as a caseworker, 2 as a frontline supervisor. It's a bit emotional being in this room tonight. I haven't been in here since 2013 when I used to testify for marriage equality. Coincidentally, I found out that the late, great Ray Sullivan passed away this week. And he was someone that always taught me to stand up for the right thing, no matter how difficult that is. So I'm standing up today for the workers that are on the front line, the families I serve. It's not always easy to testify at the department you work in, but I do have a lot of respect and admiration for Director O'Coin, and I trust that he knows that this testimony is coming from the right place. So there's a quote that goes, "If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten." This quote could not be more true for DCYF. We continue to utilize the same formula, expect different results, yet we remain an agency in crisis that operates in the same archaic fashion. I felt hopeful, like Matt did, following the news that the legislature and Governor McKee heard our voices and a historic amount of funding was given to the department. I knew this change would not happen overnight, but here I am 3 months later, and I'm watching veteran staff leave the department, and I can't help but feel more hopeless. The union and frontline staff was told that we would have a voice in the rollout of positions, but it seems to fall on deaf ears. We remain concerned that top-heavy and middle management postings continue to be posted, leading to seasoned workers leaving their positions, thus creating this ever cycle of workers leaving, a merry-go-round of seasoned workers leaving, having to constantly backfill those positions. It's frustrating to know that we finally have the funding to make history, fix a department that's been in crisis and a sore eye in Rhode Island for many years, but we continue to fall short. When I look at the 5 workers that I testify, the caseload counts are somewhere between 17 and 15. I've seen far worse as a worker. I've had 23 cases at one point. The issue is this, it's twofold. Number one, you have this model, the OFFA, family functioning model, and you're finally screening out cases that don't need DCYF intervention. So no longer are you having little Johnny, whose mom has a neighbor who doesn't like her, so they call in the hotline. Now I have little Johnny, who's in a coma because he just ingested fentanyl. I also have a case count where, on average, I have workers that have 30 children on their caseload. At least 25 are out of the home, anywhere from Woonsocket to Westerly or out of state. I spend more of my time trying to navigate visits for these kids to see their parents when I have crises popping off hour after hour, and I have to put out fires, and I can't do real, quality, effective social work. I'm an LICSW. I want to do the right thing. I want to do a good performance with these parents and these families. I want to do the right thing, but sometimes I'm just putting out fires. So, if you ask these workers, some which are in my own unit, why they're leaving, one of the big things is visitation. I was disappointed to see the amount of visitation workers, also known as CSDs, that would be hired was only at 4, and that we would not see these postings until October or November when workers are drowning. We didn't just come to Oversight. We requested to speak with administration. We spoke with Secretary Jones about this as well, and we said we were concerned about the postings that were being posted. And we were told, well, this is how it's always been. We haven't had case aides for every unit. But the thing is, things have changed. We know that parents should see their children more than once a week or bi-weekly to maintain a bond and also to aid with reunification, which is another benchmark of the lawsuit. Bi-weekly visits are a thing of the past. Most cases average between 1 to 3 visits per week, sometimes more, depending on if you have a separated couple or multiple fathers on a caseload. Because one case is one mother. You may have 8 children, 2 fathers. That's 3 parents that need 3 separate visits. Sometimes you're quartered to do 2 visits per week. Some of the units, the number 4 is because it's for the new units, but some of the existing units have never had a CST. So when you have a unit like mine that shares a CST, who can only do 10 visits a week, it's a problem. I counted the number of visits I have on my caseload. It's 78 per week. I beg, borrow, plead. I send them out to visitation programs that have wait lists or barriers, such as they need to have no dirty tox screens. Or I have a kinship foster parent that may do the visits for me one week, but then there'll be a feud with the parent. They won't do it the next. A worker may have an issue with the parent on the caseload. The child should be focusing on the visit with the parent. If they have an issue with the worker, it becomes a debacle, and it's not fair to the child who needs that quality visit with their parent in order to reunify. So I want more CSTs. And if you look at it from a fiscal level, there's $700,000 of overtime paid to the CSTs this year, and the workers have been paid over $1 million in overtime this year as well. So why not hire 7 to 8 CSTs who start off in the low 50,000s to do the job, along with the social caseworkers that can also do some of the visits. Section 6 of the children's lawsuit is visitation. We are not meeting the benchmark. The frequency of sibling visitation, the target is 85%. We're at 25.78%. The frequency of parent visitation, the target's 85%. Our validated performance is 35%. At DCYF, we reunify not based on compliance, but based on behavioral changes. Yet here we are, focused simply on checking off the boxes in order to exit the lawsuit. Fundamentally, we are not making the right changes in order to be a successful, proactive agency. Instead, we remain a reactive agency, always in chaos. Lastly, I agree with what Director O'Coin, Chief Judge Fort, Ms. Griffith from the OCA said about high-end residential in Rhode Island, especially for female adolescents. I have several children on my caseload who are stuck at Bradley Hospital waiting for a step down, who are stuck out of state waiting to step down, who are stuck in a congregate care facility waiting to step down. You get it? Fiscally, it makes sense. A bed in the state of Rhode Island costs under $300. Out of state, you're looking at over $650 a day. You're also delaying reunification because they're up in Vermont. How are you doing visits? Like Ms. Griffith eloquently said, you don't have the means sometimes to get up for Vermont to do the family work. You can't get home. I often have many sleepless nights where I think about the decisions I've made. How many children have I thought that I've saved from a bad situation, only to remove them and put them in a system that may not have the resources and needs to meet their needs, the resources and services rather, to meet their needs, only making their situation worse? How many times have I had a child tell me that I ruined their life because I put them in a system, they've moved from place to place, been separated from their family, and their life has actually been worse when I thought that I could somehow be their savior, and I've fallen short. Thank you.
Heather, thank you very much for your comments and commentary with regards to what you and Matt and folks do each and every day. Like I said, the work at DCYF is paramount, it's critical. How you do it every day, I don't know. But we're fortunate that you and the hundreds of others that are in that business, that do that work, do it every day. Questions or comments by the committee for Heather, Senator Archibald?
Yeah, just a comment. Heather, I don't think someone as passionate as you can fall short. And I know your statement was rhetorical and it comes from your heart. Nothing I say would really, but just as an observer, the dedication that you give to a lifestyle where everything is about helping children and caring about them and helping them to just have a better life, that whole pet nato, best interest. You live it, you breathe it every single day. So, easy for me to say sitting here, but when you take somebody out of I'll use Senator Palmer's analogy, a house that's on fire, and you get them into a place that, may still be smoldering, it may not be the best, you haven't given up on making it so that there is no more fire, and that you have somebody in a place that you can build this wonderful new. So, keep your passion. You're doing God's work, and your testimony is moving. It's emotional. I can feel it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Other questions, comments? So Heather, Matt, and Tanya, thank you for being with us as long as you have. Director, I think you've heard it resonate again. People, people, people. We need them tomorrow. Yesterday was too late. Today's too late. We need them tomorrow. And I guess a comment that strikes me, I should have mentioned this earlier. When we look at some of the